Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. I like to make a little fun videos every now and again. This is of course an estimate, because for those of you not looking at the screen and the point of the entire video, it says how much would 100 US dollars currently worth of Bitcoin, how much it could be worth when the last Bitcoin is mined. So put this into context, this will be about a good over 100 years from now, so no one knows for certain. But as I like to make content and like to make videos, I hate saying the word content, I thought this would be fun as a discussion piece, because why the heck not, right? I mean, we're all at home anyway, so why not to do something fun? Everyone knows that one day Bitcoin mining will eventually cease, and that the last coin will be mined. The date for this is expected to be around the year 2140. 2140. So what could an investment of $100 now be worth in around 120 years' time? We will be very old people. To estimate the price of Bitcoin well into the future, we need to take a look at growth models from the cryptocurrency. The two most well-known are the parabolic super trend price growth model, what a name, and Plan B's stock to flow price model, or S2F. We all have to take into account that if hyper Bitcoinization does occur, and Bitcoin becomes global money used by everyone, and no other kinds of currency exists at all, there are still limits to Bitcoin's price growth, because there's only so much that can be put inside of it. It's kind of like imagine a boat. There's only so much you can put into the boat because it's a boat. For those of you who don't know what hyper Bitcoinization is, it's the idea that eventually people will come to the conclusion that based off of the current traditional financial system that we have, which many people do not believe is good, that they will simply move over to the side of cryptocurrencies which are deflationary, and therefore, in essence, better than the current monetary system where people are losing money on their money year after year. Hal Finney predicted Bitcoin to have a price of $10 million per coin back in 2009. In Finney's estimate, he simply took the estimates for household wealth around the world and divided it by 21 million coins. He arrived at 10 million per coin. Cool. Decrypt revisited the data, or the idea, and recalculated with updated numbers and came to a price of $18 million per coin. Bitcoin's parabolic growth can only keep rising until there is no more wealth whose value can be converted into Satoshi. So if there's only this much amount of money, only that much money can be pushed into Bitcoin, because there's also a finite amount of Bitcoin, and eventually you can't get any more. Parabolic super trend model, my gosh, closely correlates with Plan B's stock to flow model. While many investors discount the idea of parabolic growth, Bitcoin has already, get ready for this number, Bitcoin has already grown by 2.2 million %. That is not a joke, that's the actual number. Bitcoin is up by 2.2 million. There's no other asset on this planet. Especially, it says, since Martin Malamy sold the first Bitcoins for fiat currency in 2009. There is nothing else on this planet that came out in 2009 that is up by 2.2 million %. Think about that. There's a little chart right there. There's actually, I think I have this one here for those of you to get a little better look of it. These are the constant charts that we see flowing around. Whenever we get news or indications about something talking about Bitcoin's price in the future, and to be clear, it's not just cryptocurrency enthusiasts, it's usually also banks, hedge funds, other people with a lot of money. They also do this themselves, and this is why the guy from Plan B with his stock to flow ratio has become quite popular in the traditional financial world, because his correlation is he does the stock to flow for the amount of gold that's in the world, how much gold we can mine, how much gold we think is left in the actual current price of gold. And if it's under or overvalued, we know that Bitcoin, there will only ever be 21 million. And we know the exact rate of which they are produced when the reward or the issuance of Bitcoin is going to be cut in half. And this is why we can mathematically see, because the way that it was explained to me multiple times is that With current technology, we know exactly, roughly, give or take, how much gold we're going to mine out of the ground. As time goes on and technology becomes better, we know that machines will get better, and therefore we may be able to start finding more gold underground because we have better technology, quicker ways of doing it. And the idea is if in 10 years we can do that, imagine in 50 years the kind of new technology that we'll have that we can't even dream of, that could be taking out so much gold out of the earth that it also creates an oversupply, if you will. But we know that can't happen for Bitcoin. Why? Because we know exactly how much there will be, the issuance rate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of the charts that go around for the actual growth in price, usually, and this is what me and my friend were discussing as well before, a lot of the charts prices tend to go to around the year 2030. We're not sure why. We're not sure. I heard Plan B one time on a podcast discussing that he doesn't like to talk about the numbers afterwards because they seem completely absurd and he doesn't want to sound insane. I'm not joking. Like, it was kind of this, he said he had told other people that before and they were like, no, that's never going to happen. No. So he kind of just always stops at a certain point where the prices could go. I'm going to try and do this with my mouse. It's not going to be extremely accurate. If you look at 2020 for the actual price model, it leads us to around right here. Roughly around here. Anywhere from a $40,000 to $80,000 Bitcoin. And this is why you may have remembered last year we started getting a lot of news about this from banks and institutions, and this is why I made sure to mention that it wasn't just cryptocurrency enthusiasts, because there's one thing to have people who are already in the cryptocurrency market go, yeah, Bitcoin's going to hit like $38 bajillion, and it's like, yeah, man, it's totally going to do it. So when you have people outside who have no real need to pat Bitcoin in the back, such as banks and stuff like that, who usually don't care for Bitcoin, and they come to the exact same conclusion that sometime between the estimates are, no one knows for certain, that this year or the end of next year, we will see anywhere from a $50,000 to a $100,000 Bitcoin. This is where we swing around these numbers. If you look around the next halving, roughly around here, I'm going to try and go up completely centered as possible. You roughly, let's say even this line right here, you end up here. This is 800,000. This right here is roughly around $1 million. There's around anywhere from $1.25 million per Bitcoin within the next 4 years. And this is something that we've also read many other times before based on the other same exact price models. And this is why I believe myself we've seen such a huge amount of uptick in the amount of institutional investors and or rich people who've gotten into the market, because they've all done these same exact numbers. This is why I think we see some of the biggest investors in the world either opening up crypto hedge funds, stockpiling Bitcoin, buying Bitcoin, showing their love and support for Bitcoin. It's because of things like this. If they're all coming to the exact same conclusion, if banks are all coming to the idea, the same exact thing, if you are new to this channel and you did not see the other things, there are a number of banks in Europe who are now trying to get approval to be able to buy, sell, hold, and trade Bitcoin. Why would they want to do that if the idea was, or if eventually, according to their models, Bitcoin's price would go down? Banks are there to make money, and one can only assume that they're doing this because they have the same exact models or come to the same exact conclusion that at some point Bitcoin will be worth enough for them to be able to buy, sell, hold, and trade it, or simply just hold it because they're going to make money from it. By the time you get to around here, 2028, try and go completely straight up, end up around here, roughly. This is bam, this is $3 million per Bitcoin. If you end up around here, it's around $5, $6, $7 million per Bitcoin. And this is usually when a lot of the people stop giving their estimates because I think it just sounds too far-fetched. Like even this one, 3 zeros, this is $30 million per Bitcoin. That's 2029. If you kind of continue with the same curve, it's 2029, 2030, we end up hitting a $30 million Bitcoin. According to these charts. These are, of course, based off of previous charts and the previous movements. But once again, to reiterate, we're getting the the same numbers from a lot of different places. Anyway, just wanted to zoom into the chart because I remember looking at it before and I was like, okay, I wanted to make it a bit bigger so other people understood exactly what the heck I'm talking about, just based off of all of this stuff. Bitcoin follows an S-curve of technological adoption. because while it is a currency, it is also new technology, which is being adopted by new users at S-curve adoption rates. Here's a little chart right here to explain to all of you. It's whenever something is created, it's how long it takes for it to be completely adopted within society, within the real world. And as new technology comes out, they are adopted quicker and quicker than the things before them. I think this one right here, I assume this is the telephone. And it took a while, a very long while for it to be adopted. Where's the light blue one? Air travel? Took a bit quicker. And then by the time you get around to tablets, it's almost a complete straight line up. Digital cameras, microwave, fridges are around here. Smartphones and social media. They started around the end of the beginning of the 2010s. And it's a complete straight line up. Technology has a very huge, call it an S-curve, but it's more like a straight up curve. And it's expected that Bitcoin will follow this exact same adoption because Bitcoin has only been around since 2009. Wow, what's began? Began to get adoption roughly more so around 2011, 2012, as it became like not just something people were talking about on Reddit, and now is a worldwide name. For those of you who don't know, Bitcoin is now the 8th largest currency on the planet in just a couple of years. See the similarities in Trav's parabolic price model and the S-curve of new technology adoption. They are both parabolic. We may see Bitcoin follow the steeper curve exhibited by smartphones and the internet. Stock to flow is how many years it would take to produce the current supply of an asset. Gold stock to flow is 62, meaning it would take 62 years of mining to produce the current world supply. Plan B's stock to flow further supports this parabolic growth with the model he provided to show the impact of Bitcoin's halving has on price. Bitcoin stock to flow is 25. Currently, it will be halved to as much as 50, which would be much closer to gold. Here's the actual thing right here. The amount of Bitcoin right here. It says we're roughly around here at the current 12.5 issuance rate. Eventually, we will be around here in just a couple of weeks. And then we get to this around here. At a certain point, you get to the issuance rate of Bitcoin and it almost goes completely flat. And then it takes just about over 110 years for us to even get to the very end, because the issuance rate at a certain point will be so low that it'll be almost as if there are no new Bitcoin being created. And this is if there is a need for and a desire and a collecting of Bitcoin right now by tons of people around the world, and there's already tons of interest, and we're just right here. Imagine what happens when the issuance of new Bitcoin is basically close to zero. Like it says 6.25, 3.1, 1.5, and it becomes a 0.78. That's nothing. So we are going to eventually, hopefully, if we're lucky enough within our lifetimes, going to see an issuance rate of Bitcoin per block of 0.04 from the current 12 where we are right now. That's nothing. That's like it's ridiculous. It's such a low issuance rate that it makes me remain bullish almost eternally. On the graph above, you see the parabolic price increase overlaid with a reduction in block rewards every 210,000 blocks, roughly every 4 years. Plan B's model predicts $1 trillion Bitcoin market cap after the upcoming halving. That is in 7 weeks from the time of me making this video, or a projected price of $55,000 per Bitcoin. Here's another chart right here. Bitcoin price in USD based on the years. And as they get closer, this is the amount of actual issuance of Bitcoin and how much it lowers and slows down. You kind of see, once again, all the models point to the exact same thing. Following Plan B's model, Digitalec, .net projects the price of Bitcoin. Here we go. Price of Bitcoin in the year 2025 to be around $1.2 million per coin. This is a price projection based on what we've seen before, but keep this in mind, and I think this is always the part that kind of gets a lot of people. A lot of these price projections have been in place since 2014. These aren't new things. These aren't things that people have just come up with about a day or two ago. We have had news that people from the traditional financial world, the NASDAQ, the New York Stock Exchange, they've not only been into Bitcoin since around 2013, 2014, they've been accumulating Bitcoin since 2013, 2014. One would assume that if you are under not the current control of, but if you run a multi-billion, if not a multi-trillion-dollar stock exchange and you decide to get into an asset that is only 4 to 5 years old, it's because you've been doing your research. You have these charts, you've been looking at these amounts, and you see that as time goes on, the correlation between the little amount of Bitcoin that will be created and the amount of people who will want it, who will use it, also correlates directly with the price and the stock to flow. You understand what I'm saying? Why would a major organization, why would any banks around the world want to actively get into Bitcoin unless they have all come to the exact same conclusion, have been sharing data, and all have these same exact charts? Remember we had a Swiss bank and a German bank, and I'm pretty sure a couple of American banks, but I focus on the other two more, who released information to their clients in the PDF that we were all looking at in the other videos, where they pretty much showed or said that they believe that there's going to be a multi-million-dollar Bitcoin at some point in the future. So if you have a model that's been working, think of it this way, if you have a model that's been working for the last 6 years from the current moment, and your charts showed you that 6 years ago to the year 2025, you could get Bitcoin at $200-$300, and in 2025, it would be worth $1.2 million, you're probably going to start buying Bitcoin. Credit Suisse estimates global household wealth to be 360 trillion US dollars. That's a trillion with a T. Dividing this number by 21 million Bitcoin puts us at a price of $17 million per Bitcoin. However, and this is the part that always if you haven't noticed, I am very bullish on Bitcoin. Just fundamentally, user-mentally, everything mentally, all signs are pointing, at least in my opinion, all signs constantly point to yes. However, Chainalysis, which is a company that pretty much looks at on-chain activity for multiple cryptocurrency exchanges and just about every single blockchain, Chainalysis estimates that as much as 4 million Bitcoin have been lost. The idea is these Bitcoin were lost on old computers. People threw them out. People deleted them. People forgot their passwords. People lost their keys. It could be any scenario that you could possibly think of. There are around, I've seen estimates of 4 to 6 million Bitcoin are lost and gone forever. Can't be moved, not going to be moved. They're gone. They're on old computers. And therefore, the 21 million Bitcoin idea is also not a thing, because we know that at least 4 million are gone and they can't be they won't be accessed anytime soon. So they said, let's calculate for 17 million Bitcoin. Using Finney's calculation, with 17 million Bitcoin instead of the 21, puts us at a price of $21 million per Bitcoin. Assuming hyper-Bitcoinization, once again, everyone in the world, using Bitcoin as their main means of currency by the year 2140, I think it'll actually take about a good 20 years, if not 15 years, for this to really kick in. $100 of Bitcoin at today's current price, it says 8,800. This was clearly done before the current events, would give you around 0.01126 Satoshi, so around 1/100th of a Bitcoin, roughly. These same Satoshis could have a projected value of $238,373.77, roughly $250,000 by the time the last Bitcoin is mined, 2140. Even with prices having dipped, you would receive a bit more than the 0.01126, and therefore one can only assume that this price value would actually be a smidge higher. So if you are, I mean, like I said at the beginning of this video, it's for fun. No one, unless CRISPR saves us all. If you don't know what CRISPR is, look up CRISPR. It's amazing. We will probably not be here around 2140, but our kids and grandkids probably will. I like the idea of stuff like this. I like to think a bit further. to see exactly where this could go. And even more so, when I think about investing, for me at least, I think in 10-year chunks. I know a lot of people maybe don't. I think my brain is just wired to kind of be this way. I have like 10-year goals. I have 5-year goals as well, but I think of everything in 10-year chunks. And when I think of investing in cryptocurrencies, and when I think of investing in Bitcoin, it's always a 10-year chunk model. And I think even more so with Bitcoin, it comes down to these like 20-year chunks. So by 2040, assumption that we are going to see a very high price per Bitcoin. I think even when we hit a $50,000 Bitcoin, that's still going to be a big eye opener for a lot of people. Here's the other article. It said how Finney's idea now sees $18 million Bitcoin price prediction. And this one says, from Fortune, says exclusive. Nearly 4 million Bitcoin lost forever, new study says. This was made in 2017. Keeping in mind all the renewed interest or much interest that we got during that time period from very rich people, the writing's always on the walls. You have to ask yourself why these institutions would be getting into something that would go to zero, that eventually will have no value. Because they've all, at least from the charts that we've received, come to the same conclusion. It is fascinating. It is very, very fascinating. And it's this idea of, where's the other one? Where was the other? I think it was somewhere around, nope. Thinking of something else. Just imagine where we could be in 5 years. What would you do if in 5 years from now, Bitcoin's price is $1.2 million? I don't know. I don't think my brain can even conceive of just having an asset that is worth that alone. Anyway, like I said, this is for fun. It's more of not a time waster. It's more of well, first of all, I wholeheartedly believe that a lot of this stuff is going to come true. I look forward to the next 10 to 20 years because I don't assume I'll be here in 120 years. So it's more like I look forward, hopefully, to the growth of my assets and also to where, according to the other charts, since this time period of where Bitcoin was and where it's going to be. Yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all have and are having, continue to have a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. Let me know what you think. I want to ask, like, what do you think Bitcoin will be worth? I can only imagine some of the answers that I'm going to get, but it is very exciting to even think of having a Bitcoin, which is a huge goal for a lot of people. Imagine you buying something right now for around $5,800, and in 5 years you have 1.2 million. That means it would mean roughly around $12,000 would be around 2.5 million. You're set for life. Not even half of your life. You are set for the rest of your life. Anyway, thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.